we're meant to be. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say.
It's been so long that I don't remember where all these buttons, what they do. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Had to take a couple weeks off of the YouTubes. We had a lot of things going on here at VOR headquarters. And yeah, I just needed to take a couple weeks to kind of clear my head and focus on TikTok and some business stuff. So I think a lot of you guys came along for the whole Canada apocalypse into the Russia apocalypse. And I had to kind of shift gears in my head from like covering the news to getting more into like the ramifications and the more theological end times headspace. It was a lot what happened in Canada. It was a lot what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine deal is huge. I mean, it escalated even today. So, you know, trying to figure out with VOR, are we a news service? Are we, a journalist operation? Or is it more like nature of reality? And we want to be more nature of reality. We do want to cover news, but what's happening right now is happening so quickly and unraveling in real time, like nothing anybody's ever seen. You know, I've been saying for a couple weeks now that like, if it feels like we went through a wormhole or like a Stargate into this new end times patch update in the simulation, and it's crazy. I mean, when I was, I don't know, 12, we used to talk about the end times and moving, to the woods or something. And, how would we be prepared? Red Dawn had come out, Terminator had come out, and it was like, yeah, we might live in this. And then, we just lived our normal lives for so long that it became like maybe a non-point. And then probably 2019, right, when COVID broke out, everything changed. And the way that they went from COVID to Canada to the Russia-Ukraine thing has changed all of our paradigms. I have people that are atheists that are asking me what to do, if there's a nuclear war. I have people that are Christians going, is this it? And it's just, what I'm going to try to cover tonight is basically what the World Economic Forum is saying about the mixing. It's so much I can't even piece it together. The total dissolution of our world economic system, the introduction of the New World Order, and at the same time, hey, let's just go into this transhumanist as it was in the days of Noah scenario, because we don't have enough going on, right? Nuclear war, creating the beast, it's like we've been kidding around about apocalypse bingo, but it's like, what else can they even throw at us at this point? So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to look at AI, which I know seems like kind of an old conspiracy, but it's it's also happening in real time. And we're going to look at the days of Noah. So this really started with the World Economic Forum guy. His name is, I know Noah's in there. Let's get him pulled up because this is where we're going to start today. We're going to look at his Davos 2020 lecture. We're going to watch a pretty good chunk of it because in that he details the AI and then the transhumanist agenda. And the thing about this is, like I've been saying for a long time, that God, I don't believe he judges the world because of sin. I think he judges the world because he's left with no other choice. We know in Genesis 6 with the Nephilim thing, the human genome had been contaminated, whatever, but the flood was something bigger. There was something bigger to the flood than just man was sinning. I don't think God destroys the world because of sin. He destroys this world because of this other thing. And this other thing seems to be the mission statement of the World Economic Forum, right? And so we're going to watch this guy talk about it. And I think he details exactly the AI system, the beast system. And then I found a crazy Terminator prophecy thing today. I just made a TikTok video about it. And then we're going to really tear apart his, the New World, the Days of Noah speech, the crazy thing I found in that. And then we're going to look at that with Revelation 13 and also the book of Enoch. This really caused me to even look into the book of Enoch, which I hadn't. I mean, I read it a long time ago, whatever, but I started going into it today, and Chloe and I were just like, today was one of those like multiple, I can't fit this in my brain, running around the house, freaking out. So today's going to be a little bit more scatterbrained than even normal for me because I process so much information that I haven't really put it together cogently. So, hey, you get a crazy guy who is all over the place being even crazier and even more all over the place. Okay. Should be fun. Okay. So the first thing, and I kind of wanted to save this for later. I got to remember where all my buttons are. Window. There we go. Beta zone. The first thing that happened, there's a viewer in here, a good friend of mine, Morsey. He made a video about this on TikTok. A lot of people have. This is a really cool new development in the information war that, JP made the video exposing this, JP Sears, and then everybody ran with it. And I saw dozens of TikTok videos with this in there. So we've got this thing where these elites that do this stuff, they're trying to do it now with citizen journalists everywhere documenting it and recording it. This whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Is the war, it looks really shabby and like really rumor of war-y. And is that like it's a war kind of war? And they're just trying to pull it off on us for the first time. Or is it that this is what they always have done and they've always looked this kind of suspect, but there hasn't been so many, cell phones and stuff documenting it? I mean, I get it. This thing's increasing in severity potentially. And, I'm not trying to marginalize it, but there's a lot of questionable stuff, right? I'm thinking that maybe this is how all the wars have been, and we just get the version that they want us to believe, right? We don't get like the boots on the ground, what's actually happening. We get the version of the media at the time, then writes into the history books, and then we get like some halfway accurate version. And maybe that's what's going on in this Russia-Ukraine thing. Maybe this is what all world wars have always looked like. What if that's the case? Like, we hear about World War I and World War II, and we hear about Vietnam and all these things. And what if like it was like this war, like a wag the dog kind of thing? That's weird, right? So anyways, these guys with the World Economic Forum, I assume they used to have these discussions in like Bilderberg meetings and G20 summits and, what were those other things they used to have, like with Clinton and stuff, whatever, some like secret, private meeting room kind of thing. Well, now these are like broadcast basically on the internet. This is the World Economic Forum site. So is what we're seeing like them becoming lazy or sloppy or, is this whole thing a cover, or is it just that they're trying to pull this off in front of us and we're all like awake now and we all have eyeballs on it? I don't know. But this thing here that this guy goes into, I watched Morrissey's video and I had this epiphany. Jesus talks about the days of Noah, right? This guy, who's not a scientist, he's a historian. I've done a lot of research on him. Really, really interesting. I called him a supervillain on the TikTok video I just made. But this guy here is the one talking about hacking the human genome and playing God. And AI is here, and AI is, it's a race to the bottom and blah, blah, blah. His name is Noah, you guys. Yuval Noah Harari. So A10 and I have been saying, like, the Bible, we keep getting these prophecies, and like we thought they meant one thing when we read them, back in the day. And now it's like literally the thing. Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah. And the guy that's telling us about this is named Noah. It's like his days. Ugh, that's crazy, right? I can't even make sense of that. So what we're going to do, yeah, you can't make it up. That's what the chat says. It's like, I don't know. I have this theory I can't put together exactly because I have a three-dimensional brain. But having researched the Bible code and the simulation hypothesis, I think that the Bible is updating in real time somehow. Very Mandela effecty. I don't know how it's the living word of God, right? And so it's like updating. It's like, oh, what does the Bible say? Oh, it says that the guy that's going to tell us about this, his name is Noah. And it'll be his days. Anyways. Okay, so what we're gonna do is watch this. About 13 minutes. I'm going to break it down a little bit. A lot of you have probably seen this. If you haven't, this is so important. I can't believe this guy is saying these things in public. So the first part will be tying it into AI, and the last part will be tying it into the days of Noah. Here we go. Hopefully we have sound. Let me know if we don't.
Of all the different issues we face, 3 problems pose existential challenges to our species. These 3 existential challenges are nuclear war, ecological collapse, and technological disruption. We should focus on them. Now, nuclear war and ecological collapse are already familiar threats, so let me spend some time explaining the less familiar threat posed by technological disruption. In Davos, we hear so much about the enormous promises of technology. And these promises are certainly real, but technology might also disrupt human society and the very meaning of human life in numerous ways, ranging from the creation of a global useless class to the rise of data colonialism and of digital dictatorships.
All right, I made that a minute in. Look, we got I got my gaffer working on the VOR side. Okay. This is something that he gets into here. This is so offensive. He offends us. He offends God so thoroughly. It's just absolutely disgusting. Welcome to being the useless class. I'm 44. He basically tells me I'm useless. Anybody who drives a truck, they're going to be useless. We're going to be a liability because they're building a new world order where you can't do things like have a job, have a business, farm, do the kind of things that we did for thousands of years. You get to do what these maniacs want you to do, which is conform to their image of the beast AI system. So listen to this talk about the useless class and who is going to tell us, that we're useless and so we're expendable.
First, we might face upheavals on the social and economic level. Automation will soon eliminate millions upon millions of jobs. And while new jobs will certainly be created, it is unclear whether people will be able to learn the necessary new skills fast enough.
Okay. Automation is coming. This guy talks this whole time like this thing that's happening is inevitable. We've got no say. This is a train out of control. It doesn't have any brakes. It's careening down the hill, and this is going to happen. Automation is going to happen. Well, let me tell you about automation. Automation means making a robot to do the job of a human, okay? And so if you make a robot to do the job of a human, well, then the human doesn't have a job, but the person that bought the robot, their ROI means that they actually get cheaper labor, right? So what happens here is that, yes, automation is coming, but it's coming because of greedy elites that want the money and don't want to pay you to do the job. So before we had an economy where basically I would go to work, somebody would pay me for my time, I would take the money and I would buy the thing from the person who did the other thing, and it would be a cycle, right? The money would be passed around. Well, this plan of the you will own nothing and you will like it is that the robots are taking your job, right? And he always talks about it like this is going to happen. Just happens. No, these people are working very hard to make this happen.
Suppose you're a 50-year-old truck driver and you just lost your job to a self-driving vehicle. Now, there are new jobs in designing software or in teaching yoga to engineers. But how does a 50-year-old truck driver reinvent himself or herself as a software engineer or as a yoga teacher? And people will have to do it not just once, but again and again throughout their lives, because the automation revolution will not be a single watershed event following which the job market will settle down into some new equilibrium. Rather, it will be a cascade of ever bigger disruptions, because AI is nowhere near its full potential. All jobs will disappear, new jobs will emerge, but then the new jobs will rapidly change and vanish. Whereas in the past, humans has had to struggle against exploitation.
Okay, you're going to see this here, and you guys, a lot of you have probably put a lot of this together. So, I've got a really brilliant group of friends and viewers here that know a lot of this stuff. So sometimes I go, do I have to break the mold here? And I realize there's a lot of people that maybe don't know this. So hopefully I add something. And if, for the people that don't do this research, this is going to be news to them, but they have a scapegoat here. Okay. And this is something really important. And the scapegoat is AI. And you're going to keep hearing him inferring to this. It's the unseen hand now. Well, this is going to happen. AI is reaching its potential, and when it does, it's going to kill us all. And that's just how this happens. So, it's not going to be our fault. It's going to be AI's fault, right? AI is going to become its own sentient thing, and it's going to kill us all, and we deserve it. And it's okay because, hey, AI, right? So feel this in the DNA of what he's talking about because it's in there.
In the 21st century, the really big struggle will be against irrelevance. And it's much worse to be irrelevant than to be exploited. Those who fail in the struggle against irrelevance would constitute a new useless class. People who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, of course, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political system.
Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. You've ever heard the term useless eater? Well, you're a useless eater. This is what they mean. I mean, not to your friends and family, because, I mean, they think you have some value, whatever, but you don't. Clearly, you are in a negative carbon situation already. You consume and produce whatever more carbon than you can possibly justify. That's just what it is. It is the AI is creating automation, and automation is creating a useless class, and you're useless. So, like, but the good news is we're going to have mercy on you, right? We're going to give you your pittance. We're going to send you a little bit of money. You're not going to be able to afford a car or a house, but you will. You'll get some stuff delivered. You'll be able to exist, right? Did you hear him say economic and political? This guy is brilliant. Okay. Like him and I are the same age. I'm beginning to think that, not that I'm brilliant, but that like I'm Bruce Willis and he's Samuel L. Jackson. That's the feeling I'm getting as I'm watching this, because I'm like, this guy is my natural enemy. So listen to this. Every word he says is intended. Every word he says is intended. He doesn't come up here and ramble like a crazy person like I do. Every word is intended. Listen to what he said again. Your economic and political identity or existence or whatever
would constitute a new useless class. People who are useless, not from the viewpoint of their friends and family, of course, but useless from the viewpoint of the economic and political system.
Go ahead and tell me how you end up useless politically. Are you serious? Are you serious? Just throw that in there, huh? I mean, useless from the point of economic and political. How do you be useless politically? Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you're not going to stand with the Ukraine because you question their intentions. Not saying anybody would do that, but the Babylonian Bee picture of the COVID mandation to go into the restaurant, but instead of saying proof of vaccination, it now says you have to prove that you stand with the Ukraine to eat at the restaurant. Is that what that means, useless politically? How do you be useless politically? I can tell you how. You don't agree with these guys, okay? We just saw that the protesters in Canada are useless politically. And what did they get? They got their money taken away. They got punched in the mouth by stormtroopers, by the New World Order police. Useless politically.
And this useless class will be separated by an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite.
Can you believe he's saying these things? Can you believe he's saying these things? I mean, we could literally I could probably do 4 shows on this Davos discussion, because you've got the financial, economic recourse or intentions. You've got the physical health, freedom, ramifications, and you've got the spiritual anti-God. If you don't think this guy is anti-God of the Bible, I'm going to show you more about this guy, because I've been digging, and he's smart enough to know that we're in a created order. He said that. If you want to be really bummed out about everything, look at Noah. I keep forgetting his name, but look at his take on God, and it's basically like, yeah, we're probably in a designed order, but this idea of God caring what you wear is ridiculous, basically. And there's a reason why. Look into his whatever. Look into him and you'll figure out a little bit of why I think he probably has that take. But this guy, he offends God, wants to be God, claims he's going to be God. But it's crazy. Like, as it was in the days of Noah. To me, as I've researched this guy more, it reminds me of Mangala. This guy reminds me of Mangala. And not in an anti-Semitic way, because I think I know he is Jewish, but like from a political, like what this guy's ideology is, and like what his fervency is, and how well spoken he is, and how much control he has intellectually over the world right now, as it was in the days of Noah. Like it makes me think that maybe Nimrod had this guy, like, we've talked about the Antichrist, showing up multiple times. There was John the Baptist multiple times, and or sorry, it was like when maybe Elijah became John the Baptist, and we think maybe with the two prophets, it'll be one of them again. And we have these like figures that like show up multiple times throughout the story, and like I'm wondering if like this guy isn't hanging out with the spirit that was involved in whatever happened before the flood. It's crazy how far he goes with this. All right, play.
The AI revolution might create unprecedented inequality, not just between classes, but also between countries.
Okay, I'm going to rewind that just a little bit because I distracted myself. He said here the useless class is going the disparity between the useless class and the elites is going to grow, right? We know that we just had the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of humanity. They've wiped out the middle class already. So listen, he frames this. He details the whole thing in this.
By an ever-growing gap from the ever more powerful elite. The AI revolution might create unprecedented inequality, not just between classes, but also between countries. In the 19th century, a few countries, like Britain and Japan, industrialized first, and they went on to conquer and exploit most of the world. If we aren't careful, the same thing will happen in the 21st century with AI. We are already in the midst of an AI arms race, with China and the USA leading the race, and most countries being left far, far behind.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to take the scriptural angle with this. Okay, you see that it's AI, it's automation. This is, COVID had happened, but the Russia-Ukraine thing hasn't happened. And by the way, he's out there saying right now that this is the war that will define humanity. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened. He's saying that it's changing the whole lexicon. It's wild, the doubling down they're doing. But so he's making this point about AI, right? And he's saying it's coming, it's a revolution, it's an arms race, you can't avoid it. There are people that are going to lose, largely the useless people that are, useless politically and don't have they have a trade instead of a computer engineer. He said that like specifically, you're going to be an engineer, or you're going to teach yoga, or you're going to be useless. Those are your options. Okay, everybody's familiar with this. This is the Bible. This is the book of Revelation 13. So these beasts come out of the sea, worship the dragon. There was given unto a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. This sounds right. I didn't even read that earlier, but there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And he continued for 42 months. He opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name. This guy does that as we continue on. He literally talks about being God and having the power of God, and that God screwed up and was a bad designer, and that he is going to make this in his image, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints. I'm telling you, we got a whole couple weeks we can do on this guy. He's got a lot to say about the Russia-Ukraine thing. Power given to everybody. That's crazy, right? Overcome them, and power is given over all kindreds and tongues and nations. This Ukraine thing has got a lot of support. If any man have an ear, let him hear. I have an ear, I have two ears. Let's see. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. He had two horns. He exercised power of the first. He exercises all the power of the first beast before him. And he causes them that are within the earth to worship the first beast. He does great wonders. He deceives them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles. I'm sure AI and those miracles, that's a possibility, right? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now, we've been talking about this. We talked about this with the vaccine. Like, no, it's probably not the mark. But then if it were, like, the idea that the beast is actually the system. So if the beast is the system, and they give life to the beast, you start to see now how this animation of the beast system is what AI is. It's representative of this, carnal human desire to control and to just say, hey, nobody matters, everybody's useless, we need complete control, and whatever it says to do, we do. Like, I'm imagining this beast is like the perfect opportunity for them to say, get on board or get dead. that's what they're doing, right? And he had the power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So if you're politically useless and you don't have a job and you're a liability, a carbon liability, so on and so forth, well, AI has come online. I'm sure it's going to speak. We've all had a feeling it would be some sort of computer representation of the system. This Noah guy is talking about it, right? He causeth, in the very next line, he causeth all to get this mark. He had the power to give life into the image of this beast. Okay. You might have heard that when you were younger, and you might have thought, okay, power to the image of the beast. What does that mean? Well, it occurred to me today, which is what I made the the TikTok video about it. We have this, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we're made in the image of God, and this reality is complicated, okay? I need you to understand these things. This is crazy. We have in our DNA the story of humanity, the story of our family in our design. And this isn't woo-woo, this is science. It's called epigenetics. Okay, this whole curses to the seventh generation thing, the things that your great-grandfather did are in you. The information is in there somehow. Well, inside of this system, we have these stories that resonate with us, okay? These stories are guttural, and you know them before you see them, okay? And then when you see it, you go, yeah, yep. As you watch it, you're like watching it going, I know this story. I have this feeling about this story. What is this? And these stories are the Star Wars story, the chosen one who defeats the one who was good, who went to evil, right? That's Anakin is Lucifer and Luke is Jesus. Like, that's one idea. And the Force, right? And mitochondria and all these kind of things. And then, the other story is that we shouldn't play God. Okay, we have this story. It's in our. I'm telling you, if you could understand DNA and you unraveled it, inside of the story is the instruction, the express instruct to not try to be or play God. That is in there. Okay, we are the created. We don't need to create. Right? What did Satan say to Eve? Well, God just knows that in the day you will eat that, you will be like God. We're not supposed to be like God. And if you're in a religious system that tells you you can be like God, somebody lied to you. Okay? You are a human. You're a dirt bag. Sorry. You're made of dirt. You are, hey, if you think you're God, go move the moon around in the sky or the sun or something, right? Don't try to be God. Well, we have this very express warning, and it says, do not try to make life. Do not try to create life. You are not God. So when Mary Shelley wrote this with the book Frankenstein, everybody was like, yeah. People were horrified. They were absolutely horrified because it was the unspeakable sin. You don't do that. You don't make life. You don't make life. Okay, it's in there. Well, these guys, they're gone. Okay, they're gone, and they're going to get us killed. They're the reason the judgment is coming. I want you to hear what he says about where their science is taking them. You know, we heard about these stories about the flood, and it was really an advanced civilization, and we know about Atlantis and all these things. They had gotten there. They got there where they were doing this genetic manipulation. And we're going to read the book of Enoch here in a minute. But if you haven't seen what this guy says about this, are those angels? I missed part of this. Interesting.
Are now giving politicians
Look at
and
that.
business people
I'm sure there's
the means to create heaven or hell, but the philosophers are having trouble conceptualizing what the new heaven and the new hell will look like. And that's a very dangerous situation. If we fail to conceptualize the new heaven quickly enough, we might be easily misled by naive utopias. And if we fail to conceptualize the new hell quickly enough, we might find ourselves entrapped there with no way out. Finally, technology might disrupt not just our economy and politics and philosophy, but also our biology. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us God-like abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. After 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection, we are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design.
It breaks my heart for our creator. I was trying to think how to say this in the TikTok video, but it's basically God's doing a great job. You don't need to try to be God. He says he wants the powers of God. And every time we've done this, it's been a disaster. Every time in our genetics, we know it's a disaster. We know it's a problem. We've been warned. We have been warned, and we will not heed the warning. This video, I might get a YouTube copyright thing, so it might get blacked out on the replay. I saw somebody asking about the replay, but I remember how much this scared my mom. So in the 50s or whatever, this was a big deal. Watch this.
Quite a good scene, isn't it? One man crazy, 3 very sane spectators.
So we see this story over and over and over of the mad scientist, right? The mad scientist who loses his mind in his brilliance, and in his hubris, he loses his mind. Does this sound like somebody? I want you to understand who the first mad scientist was. I want you to understand who lost his mind and his brilliance first. And this is who is behind this. You can't say it any more simply than that. This mad scientist thing of trying to create life is Lucifer having lost his mind, being too bright and too brilliant and whatever. These scientists lose their mind, right? I want you to watch this. He goes up, he gets lightning shot, he comes back down. I remember when my mom showed me this, she was like horrified. And I'm like, it's not that scary. It's pretty scary now.
Look, it's moving. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's moving. It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
I get a lot of flack for saying the word shit because I think it's just a human construct. When he says, in the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God, it's the most horrifying thing I think I may have ever heard. It hurts me. I cut it out of the TikTok video because I just can't deal with how heavy this is. This bloodlust, this lust for power, wanting to be God. And we're warned not to do it. I saw a chat message in here earlier, which was, Elon's been talking about this. We still don't know if Elon's a good guy or a bad guy. He might be controlled opposition. We don't know. But yeah, he's like, I've been trying to warn everybody about AI. It's a bad idea. And everybody's tried to warn us about AI. It's just a really bad idea. We shouldn't do it, right? Well, Noah, World Economic Forum, he's doing it. He's doing it. He doesn't care at all. This thing here, I want you to hear it again. He creates life. He's lost it. Absolutely.
Oh, in the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God.
And then the monster comes alive. Who wants to be God? Why would you want to be God? Have you ever thought about whether you wanted to be president or not? You think you'd want to be the president? That's not a fun job. There's one who is worthy to be God, and it's God, and he's doing a phenomenal job. And that's an understatement. This desire to want to be God is incomprehensible to me. Anyways, they make the monster, and it turns out really bad, and he kills everybody, and they can't kill him, and it's a big mistake, right? Shocker. I feel like God didn't even write that in the. It's like it was so evident to not want to be God. He didn't like. He's like, you shall have no other gods. He probably didn't even like. He probably wasn't like, well, don't be God, right? He probably, I don't know. Anyways. So I had this epiphany today while I was going through this crazy information. I was trying to find some B-roll for the Terminator clip in my TikTok video. And so I went to this, I wanted to see all the wars. And this is the opening scene from Terminator. This will definitely be a copyright thing. It'll pull it down. So maybe I'll explain it at the end of it. But when I saw this today, poor Chloe, she gets to see me make these discoveries in real time. It's pretty intense. This is the movie The Terminator, which was James Cameron's prophecy, right? We have Frankenstein, Terminator, The Matrix. We have this story over and over and over. Don't create life. It will end badly, right? Look at how this movie starts. We all remember this scene, right? Things go really bad. Let's actually read it. The machines rose from the ashes of the nuclear fire. Their war to exterminate mankind had raged for decades, but the final battle would be fought in the future. It would be fought here in our present, tonight, in 2029. Can you even believe it? I can't believe it. Oh, and by the way, the Terminator movie came out in 1984 because we're in this crazy simulation thing. Remember the book 1984? Well, in 1984, it's like a breadcrumb trail. In 1984, Terminator was released. And in the Terminator movie, it said that in 2029, we would be in a total dystopia because of AI that took over and ruined the earth because of the Frankenstein character that we had created, whatever. So hopefully you're getting it. We're not in Kansas anymore, unfortunately. I love Kansas now. I wasn't like being in Colorado. Kansas was kind of like looked down upon. I was like, oh, you're in Kansas? Like there's no mountains there. Like really snobby and bougie Denver people. But Kansas sounds pretty nice now. Okay, so we're going to go back to this thing. I'm going to tie this into the days of Noah that Noah's telling us about.
To re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms.
Who would want to do this? Okay.
Create heaven and the new
Create
hell
heaven.
will look like. And that's a very dangerous situation. If we fail to conceptualize the new heaven quickly enough, we might be easily misled by naive utopias. And if we fail to conceptualize the new hell quickly enough, we might find ourselves entrapped there with no way out. Finally, technology might disrupt not just our economy and politics and philosophy, but also our biology. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. After 4 billion years, of organic life.
I know we watched this, but I was trying to get to, the overarching principle of creating life is bad if you're not God. But, just breaking this down, he votes for evolution, 4 billion years of life. What we have now wasn't intelligently designed. It was naturally selected. This is, scientific naturalism, philosophic materialism. And now we have this opportunity in our image to make life, right? And we're not just going to mess with the human genome. We're going to make all kind of new life, right? We're going to play God and we're going to do this. So what I want to share here, and this is, I guess, a little bit of a trigger warning. I don't know where the individuals stand on the validity of the Book of Enoch. I personally have probably given too much validity or credit to the King James Version. I've told that story before. When I was a young man, I was at the 16th Street Mall in Denver, and I heard there was a street preacher, and he was like getting totally mobbed by the trolls, and they were throwing stuff at him, and he was just saying, you can only read the King James Version. And I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. And this guy was like legit. So I've been a King James guy for a long time. But at this point, I'm not sure, if Sefer is better or whatever. Anyways, I haven't seen a need for the pseudographical books particularly. I read the Book of Enoch many, many years ago, listened to it. I'll be honest, I'm not a great reader. And I just kind of didn't feel the need to dive into it. But as it relates to the subject, I'm like, there's not enough information in Genesis 6 to really make this point of what the days of Noah looked like. So I have the Book of Enoch here. So if you're not a Book of Enoch person, we're going to cover the Book of Enoch here for a little bit. If you're undecided, pray about it, right? Let the Holy Spirit guide you if it's legit or not. But it really dives into this. It's going to take about 5 minutes, but what we're looking at is, Genesis 6 says, in those times, the sons of God came into the daughters of women and made the Nephilim, basically, and all flesh had become corrupted or something like that. It's pretty quick. This is a deeper dive into it.
Section 2, Chapter 6. And it came to pass, after the children of men had increased in those days, beautiful and comely daughters were born to them. And the angels, the sons of the heavens, saw and lusted after them, and said one to another, Behold, we will choose for ourselves wives from among the children of men, and will beget for ourselves children. And Semyaza, who was their leader, said to them, I fear that perhaps ye will not be willing to do this deed, and I alone shall suffer for this great sin. Then all answered him and said, We all will swear an oath, and bind ourselves mutually by a curse, that we will not give up this plan, but will make this plan a deed. Then they all swore together, and bound themselves mutually by a curse, and together they were 200. And they descended on Ardis, which is the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn on it and bound themselves mutually by a curse. And these are the names of their leaders, Semyaza.
We're not going to do the names of the leaders because I do understand that angel stuff can get pretty creepy. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. So this is their plan, right? We're going to do this crazy, terrible thing. And then we get to chapter 10, which is kind of so this is the empire, and then, the rebel force response.
Which have died, cry and lament to the gates of heaven, and their groans ascend, and they are not able to escape from the wickedness which is committed.
That's the judgment that the angels that did that were in. You know what's crazy about this? Do you guys remember the movie The City of Angels? I need to do a dive on this. That was when Wim Wenders and U2 was involved, and it was like really spiritual, kind of weird Christian stuff. And now we kind of know who Bono is and how off that information is. But if you remember City of Angels, Nick Cage's character fell for Meg Ryan, and he's like, I'm going to go down and do that. Everybody's like, no, he can't do it. And he's like, I'm leaving God, and he fell down, right? That's that story. Crazy they glorified that in Hollywood. I'm so surprised. Okay, so this is God's response. And this is really important because You guys will see me talk in the TikTok lives. People go, how could a good God send the flood? There were good people that died in the flood. And, God is mean because of the flood. And I say, like, well, the only way you can know that is if you go back into time, stop the flood from happening, fast forward to today, and see if it's better or not. If it's better now with the flood having happened, yeah, then God was wrong. Well, maybe, whatever. But if you come back and there's no humans and it's been totally destroyed, you'd go, wow, take me back, take me back, take me back. Go ahead and let the flood happen, right? So this gets more into what was actually going on in the earth that caused this.
Their circumstances, and yet thou dost not speak to us. What shall we therefore do in regard to this? Chapter 10. Then the Most High, the Great and Holy One, spoke and sent Arsaladir to the son of Lamech, and said to him, tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end which is to come. For the whole earth will be destroyed, and the water of the deluge is about to come over the whole earth, and what is upon it will be destroyed. And now instruct.
Okay. Super duper important. If I don't think that's been, the adjectives people have used for the book of Enoch before, but there you go. So the flood didn't happen because man had sinned. Okay. The flood happened because these fallen angels had come down to the earth and compromised the human genome, had created the giants, had compromised the plants, the crawling things, even the beasts. They affected everything genetically. Okay, they went full World Economic Forum and World Economic Noah and repurposed everything in the image of the fallen ones. And God's only choice was to hit reset, right? This is what brought the flood in. And so now we see with this craziness going on, who's behind it and where this is going. Matthew 24, they're asking Yeshua, Jesus, when this is going to happen. He says, learn a parable of the fig tree. When the branch is tender, putteth forth leaves, the summer is nigh. So likewise, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Entirely possible that was Israel's 73rd birthday. Because it says, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass until all these things be fulfilled. That would be 80 years. That would be 2028. Heaven and earth shall pass away. My words shall not pass away. And that is a truth. Because he's the word of God made flesh. And the word of God exists outside of time and space. So yes, he didn't mince words, and every word he said he meant, and every word he said, if you don't get it, it's just because you can't get it or you haven't figured it out. It's not because it was wrong or it wasn't incorrect. It's just you don't get it. But anyways, but on that day or hour nobody knows, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Here's the key one. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of man. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of man be. Right? So this is very cryptic. There's a lot of multi-meaning in everything Yeshua says. So of course, there's everybody was like, cool, this is fun. We're all just rooting for Ukraine and getting ready to have our world economic new world order. This is great. Ooh, cool. Total liberation. And then things hit. So there's that level. But then as it was in the days of Noah, this idea we've all known could very well mean that there's genetic tampering going on, that there's this kind of hybridization thing. And for this guy to come out and so blatantly offend and attack God and speak blasphemies and talk about how he's going to animate the beast with this AI, which is going to separate the wheat from the chaff. And basically, if you build the robot, you have a job. And if you don't, you better hope you can give yoga to the person. Do you give yoga? I don't think that's the technical application, but if you can give yoga to the engineers, then you have a job. So you can either be an engineer or a yoga giver or a useless eater that I don't promise you, but I very much would assume that AI is smart enough to realize that in a climate change crisis world that we live in, and with limited resources, that the useless people, it might be fun to kind of give them free universal basic income for a little while, but then eventually AI is probably going to go, you know what, I'm not human, I'm a wicked robot, and I'm going to kill you all now. So, hey, God tried to warn you. But yeah, we didn't listen. This was the patience of the saints. Like I think we've proven that we're not going to line up for genetic modification in the name of the beast system. But for all this to be going on, and this guy here to be the person breaking the news to the world, and his name is Noah, it freaks me out, you guys. Are we in the days of Noah? How important is this guy, really? How important is this guy? I'd like to look into the, I don't want to say gematria, but the etymology or the multi-meanings to his name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyways, whatever. I'll do that later on my own time. Okay, so what do we have? I'll wrap up with this idea. This thing that I brought up today seems like it's out of left field. I haven't done a show in 2 weeks, and it's like, oh, Noah and AI, conspiracy guys. His Canada well dried up. Canada dry. Am I drinking Canada Dry tonight? I'm not. Normally am. His Canada well dried up. He doesn't want to talk about Russia, Ukraine. He's going to pivot over to the AI thing. We are watching it unfold chronologically, step by step, for the kind of catastrophe that humankind is going to have to suffer to destroy the old world and bring the new one in. You know, when Bush Sr. talked about that, actually, this is kind of crazy. I don't know if you know this, but this actually happened. I didn't realize this. We mentioned it on, somebody mentioned it on the Discord last night. Check this out. The other 9/11, George H.W. Bush's 1990 New World Order speech. Remember when he said, we are approaching a new world order. A new world order. That was on 9/11, 1990. That's crazy, right? When he was talking about that new world order, this is what he was talking about. And what we were going to need to get to it was COVID, the Russia-Ukraine thing, which I know you're enjoying your oil prices. If you haven't watched it, go watch my last show from 2 weeks ago. It's aging very well so far. You know, who's right, who's wrong. I said specifically in it that I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but for the average person, what's going to matter is $10 a gallon for your oil, and, you know, a day's wages for a loaf of bread, and the cyber attack that they're going to do, and potentially a nuclear attack. So that's what's going to matter. COVID, the Canada thing, to break the spirit of the people, or try to, or at least show the world that they have the New World Order police, the Russia-Ukraine thing, and now at the same time, the czar, the supervillain of the World Economic Forum, is really pushing this idea of transhumanism and this great reset, and AI being responsible, and AI choosing who's good and who's bad, and who gets to live and who gets to die based on their economic output and their political ideology. So we're tracking. It's been really well executed by them. And you know what? Like, we get this talk a lot about, what are we going to do? Are we going to stop it? Are we going to stop it? I'm actually getting some flack from some people who are telling me that I should stop it. And let me just to address that really quick. I don't feel like a revolution where we go and a small renegade group of people, stop the World Economic Forum. I don't see the scriptural support for that. I very much understand that we'll either be here for it or we won't, but we're not going to stop it. Okay, if you're led to stop it, I'll pray for you, you know, and I'm rooting for you. But I think it's largely about what you can do to get right with God, what you can do to, get your children and your family out of the system if possible. Kind of, what does Jesus say? The patience of the saints, the patience and the suffering of the saints, or something like that. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. But as for me and my house, the goal is to try and serve God, watch what's going on, and really pray. Right? God said that if our people who are called by our name, if His people are called by His name, pray and repent, that He could heal the land. We need a miracle because these guys are way ahead of us, unfortunately. So not to be, hey, you guys didn't see me in a couple weeks and I come back doomy and gloomy again. So I apologize, but it's heavy. It's a heavy time, right? God is real and the devil's real and we're in the middle of the fight. So we're going to go to TikTok. We're going to do the after party over there. I need a couple minutes to get a background or whatever. So I'll probably go on in about 10 minutes over there. So please come over, check it out. Plan to do a show again on Thursday. I appreciate everybody being here. Good news, we just got to 1,000 subscribers, so the channel is monetized. I don't know what that means. I don't know, but that's cool. So thank you everybody for your support. Thank you for your time. Love you guys. And transmission.
I don't think you're what you seem. I admit to myself, if I hurt someone else, I'll never see just what we're meant to be.